That's what I've seen. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. I'm going to go through the lesson each day on Zoom while y'all are watching and whoever's in class is watching. And everything I'm doing right now, I'm also going to be recording. So I'm going to show you after I go through the lesson today, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to record it, and then where I'm going to put it. That way, if you wanted to watch it later, you can watch it later. And then I'm going to show you also how to get to your assignments, where all that kind of stuff is. So that way, you know, just kind of how the class is going to flow. Okay, since everything's just so different this semester. Now, the only thing that's due this Sunday at midnight is section 2.1. So I'm going to go over it today. Then I'll show you where I'm going to put the live video, where I'm going to put the video. And then I'm also going to show you where you go to turn in and do your work. Okay, so 2.1 is on solving equations. So anytime you're solving any kind of mathematical equation, your goal is to get the variable or the letter by itself. Okay, so we're going to start off with some simple things. The first thing we're going to do before I get down to the actual problems is talk about what the goal of solving an equation is. So let's just say you have an equation like this, x plus 7 equals 15. We're going to start off with simple equations like this and then build upon that. Now, here's the thing. Your goal is to always get this x alone. It's like the x or whatever letter is being used hates to be with anybody else. So you want it to be as alone as it can be. So how do I make it be alone? How do I kick everybody off the side where the x is? Whatever is being done to the numbers over here, you're going to do the opposite operation. You're going to say, well, if it's being added, I'm going to knock it out with the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. Okay? Let me do this up a little bit. So if I had an equation like this, and I said, okay, x wants to be completely by itself. So I need to get rid of this plus 7. Well, what's the opposite of adding? Well, the opposite of adding is subtracting. So the way I'm going to get rid of this plus 7 is to subtract 7 from it. Now, here's the thing. When you're solving an equation, at any time you do one thing, or do something to one side of this equal symbol, you have to do the same exact thing to the other side of the equal sign. So if I subtract 7 from this side, I've also got to subtract 7 from that side. So let's see, what happens over here on the left? Let's see, that plus 7 knocks out the minus 7. That's the whole reason that we did that minus 7 was to get rid of that plus 7, right? So let's see, the only thing that's left over here is this x, which is good. X likes to be alone, right? I bring down the equal sign. Then I just do whatever the math is telling me to do over here. So I just do the 15 minus 7, which gives me 8. So I'm just left with x equals 8. So all you have to type in and your answer is 8. Okay? Now, go to, if you'll log in, the people in class will log into your Pulaski Tech portal. You know what I'm talking about? Go ahead and log into your portal. I'm going to show you where the problems are that I'm about to work. So online, I'm about to share my screen. So now you see that I'm at UA-PTC.edu. I'm going to go to my campus portal. And I'd already logged into this computer, so I'm already logged in. That's fine. That's fine. So I'm going to come over here to Blackboard. Once I click on Blackboard, you should see every class that you are enrolled in right here in the middle of your screen. And again, I'm recording this, so you can come back and watch this later too if you need to go through it slower. So here's our class, Foundations of Algebra. So once you get to that, you should come up to the Start Here page. Now, essentially, there's two places that you need to go on this Start Here page. The two places that you're going to want to go are course content, right here. And then if you scroll down, the other place, I have more links than y'all do, but you should also have this My Math Lab student links. So course content and My Math Lab student links. The first thing you're going to do is click on this course content. So here's what is happening in the course content. The whole semester is set up in a week by week folder. So click on week 1. Now there's a lot of stuff in here. Here's where I want you to go to. Here's where I'm showing you what I'm about to do. This 2.1 homework handout at the bottom of that is what I'm about to work through. I'm going to work those exact problems on the board. After I get done with this lesson, I'm going to save it as a YouTube video and put it right here underneath that 2.1 homework handout. So later on this afternoon, you'll be able to see what I have done today on the board in class as a YouTube link right here. Okay, I'm going to open up this. Okay, hang on. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. Now, come down here to My Math Lab student links. This is where you do your work. So you'll have a few things in there. All you need to do is go down to My Lab Math All Assignments. Click on that. Once you go to My Lab Math All Assignments, there is where all of the work that you have to do this entire semester is going to be. Just scroll down and hit agree on that. So, and if you look to the left of every assignment, there's the assignment due dates. Every due date is every Sunday at midnight. Whatever we cover on Tuesday and Thursday will be due that Sunday at midnight. So today we're going to cover 2.1. So 2.1 is going to have 7 questions. So if you'll click on 2.1, and you can't hurt it. Once you open it, you can't hurt it. Like if I go to question 1 and open it but don't work it, that's fine. It lets you come back and work it later. So here's the actual 2.1 question. You would solve it on your paper. Put your answer in this blue box. Once you type something in, I'll just put in a fake number, 5. Then you'll come down to the bottom and click check answer. So let's see. Oh, I got it wrong. So look what it does. It says it gives me another chance. I'm going to put in another wrong answer. So I'm going to check my answer again. Still wrong. So now look what it says down here. Instead of check answer, it says final check. So I'm actually going to get it wrong again just to show you what happens. Okay, so I get it wrong again. So I say, okay, you know what? I'm tired of working that particular problem. I'm going to go to the next question. So then it'll give me the next question and I'll start trying to work that. Now, let's say you don't want to do your homework anymore. You're going to take a break. Hang on, it's not letting me. So if you come back in later, you go to 2.1. See how it has this red X next to question number 1? Yours won't. You'll see it on the video later. I can come back in, re-hit that wrong answer. Look what it says down here at the bottom right now. It says similar question. So see how it has a red X next to the problem. I can do a similar question. Now I'm going to get it right. Watch the red X up here next to the 2.17, 2.1.7. When I do check answer, it turns it green. It gives me, so even if you get a problem wrong and you go out, you can come back in and go to that problem, rework it and get it right. And the way that you know which ones you need to work again is you click this down arrow up here. So look at this. They will either have green checks next to them, or the ones that you got wrong will have red X's next to them. If you see one that has a red X, just click on it and rework it until you get it right. You can rework it 100 times until you get it right, okay? So again, that's the main places that you're gonna go are course content, My Math Lab student links. You go to course content to get your handouts in week 1, and then you go to My Math Lab student links to actually do your work. So now getting to the actual lesson for the day, here's how that's going to roll every single day. I will have your handout in the weekly folder. You can click on it, open it up, and print it off if you want. Take your notes out here. Then you can have that with you when you are doing your work in the My Math Lab student links. Okay, so what I'm about to do is just go through each one of these problems. So when you go into your 2.1 homework in My Math Lab student links, you're going to have an example to go by to help you with your homework problems. Okay, so once we do this for a week or two, and I know this first week got crazy, but once we do this a week or two, you're going to see the pattern that is going to be the same exact pattern every single week. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you'll be able to see me working problems now. I'm going to work the problems that are on that exact handout for you. So number 1 on that handout says x minus 8 equals 9. So I'm trying to solve this for x, get x by itself. So let's see, if I want x to be alone, remember x is just a loner, wants to be by itself all the time. Okay, doesn't care what side of the equal sign it's on, it just wants to be alone. So let's see, if I want to get x alone, what's the opposite of minus 8? Because that's how you get stuff away, is you do the opposite of it. Well, if I'm going to do the opposite of minus 8, I need to add 8. So if I do it to one side, I had to put it on the other side also. So let's see, the minus 8 plus 8 cancels out. X is alone like it likes to be. On the right side, I just do the math. 9 plus 8, which gives me 17. So you would just put 17 in as your answer. And that's number 1. Okay, let's look at number 2. I can come over here a little bit. Z minus 3 equals negative 8. And a good thing also about watching the recording later is that you can pause me if I'm going too fast. Z minus 3 equals negative 8. So let's see on this one. This time Z, it doesn't matter what letter it is, it wants to be alone. Getting rid of minus 3. What's the opposite of doing subtraction? That would be adding this time, right? So to get rid of minus, I'm going to plus 3. So the minus 3 cancels out the plus 3. I drop down this Z. Equals, here's where people run into trouble. When they see that minus 8 plus 3. Okay, the way I like to think about it is my bank account. If I have negative $8 in my bank account, but I go in and I deposit $3 more, I add 3 to it, I'm still negative, but I'm working my way back up to 0, right? I'm not there yet. I'm not even yet, but I'm getting closer. If you have negative 8 and then you add 3 to it, you're still negative, but now you're only negative 5. Also, remember, the TI-84 is required for this class. It does that work for you. Okay, if I wanted to do this in my calculator, so if I have this is what your TI-84 looks like. So what math did I needed to do? I needed to figure out what is negative 8 plus 3. We'll come down, look at the bottom. There's your negative button right there below the 3. That's the negative. So negative 8, then hit the plus 3. So that's what it should look like. Negative 8 plus 3. Hit your enter button to get your negative 5. So this calculator is going to be worth its weight in gold. It's going to do fractions for us. It's going to do all kinds of stuff that we do not want to do. We don't like to do stuff like that. So that's why we have this calculator. Okay? So that's number 2. So when you're working number 2 in your My Math Lab student links, it's going to be very similar to this. So you have an example to go by now. Okay? Let's look at number 3. Negative 5 equals t minus 12. So I have something a little different here. Remember, whatever the letter is, it wants to be alone. So t wants to be alone this time. Well, if t wants to be alone, who needs to go away? The minus 12 does, right? It doesn't matter what side the t's on. It doesn't care about that. It just wants to be alone. So let's get rid of this minus 12. And again, what's the opposite of subtraction? To get rid of it, I'm going to add. Well, if I add it on this side, I've got to add it to the other side of my equal sign. Here's my equal sign, which means I need to add it over here. So let's see. I'll bring down my equal. I'll bring down my t. what happens to that? They completely cancel each other out, right? The minus 12 and the plus 12 cancels each other out. Then over here, I have negative 5 plus 12. So think about that in your bank account. If you've got negative 5, but you go and you put in 12, you're going up to positive now, right? You put in more than you had taken away. So let's see. Again, if I wanted to put that in my calculator, put it in exactly like it says. Negative 5 plus 12. Hit enter. Look where you are now. Where are you at? You now have 7. Okay, so negative 5 plus 12 gives me 7. So 7 is your answer. That's all you're going to put in. You don't need to put in the T equals. It's going to have that there for you. So you already have that there for you. All you need to put in is the number 7. Okay? Moving right along to number 4. R plus 10 equals 20. R wants to be alone. I need to get rid of plus 10 this time, so I will subtract 10. Plus 10 minus 10 cancels. There's my R. Equals 20 minus 10 on this side, since I had to subtract 10 over here, and 20 minus 10 just gives me 10. All right, let's look at number 5. 5 brings up something that we don't like to see. So let's see. Number 5 says x plus 1/8 equals negative 1/4. So what I see that most people don't like to see is fractions, right? That is the time in math where everybody has it as their favorite subject, and then all of a sudden it becomes their worst subject. If you ask, a first grade class, what is their favorite subject? Almost all of them say math. If you ask a 4th grade class, what is their worst subject? Almost all of them say math. You know what comes into play that way it makes people where they just kind of lose their focus and lose their like and their enjoyment of math? Fractions. But what we're going to do with this equation is anytime I see fractions in an equation, my very first step is I want to get rid of all the fractions. So here's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to show you how to do it in the calculator so you don't even have to really do it. So look, I'll look at the denominators, the bottom numbers of these fractions. I'll look at the biggest denominator. What I'm trying to find is what is the smallest number that 4 and 8 both go into. The reason I look at the biggest number of this 8, because I know 8 goes into 8. Everybody goes into themselves. So I know 8 goes into 8. Does 4 also go into 8? It does. So what that tells us is that the least common denominator of this problem is 8. Now, we're going to use that 8 to get rid of our fractions. And here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to say, the rule says I can do anything to one side of an equation as long as I do it to both sides. If I do it to both sides, I have kept my equation equal. I'm going to use this 8, and I'm going to multiply everybody on both sides by 8, right? So I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing it everything to both sides. So let's see, here I've got 8 times x, which is 8x. Here, write down my plus. If you've got an 8 in the top and the bottom, they just cancel each other out. So all you're left with is that numerator, which is just that 1. Equals. Over here, I've got an 8 in the top and a 4 in the bottom. So let's see, what is 8 over 4? What does that really reduce to? 8 over 4 is the same exact thing as saying 2, right? 8 divided by 4. So all I'm left with, since that 8 over 4 disappeared and turned into a 2, I'm left with negative. Multiply that together. 1 times 2 is 2. Look at this equation. This equation and the equation that you started off with are the same equation. It's just that the bottom one doesn't have any fractions now. I've still got work to do. I've got to get that x alone. Now, this also brings in something else new to this kind of solving, is there's a number hooked on to the x. You're not going to worry about that until the very last step, every time, every time. So let's get rid of the plus 1 with a minus 1. If I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other. So that cancels. I've still got 8x over here. Equals, I have negative 2 minus 1, if you want to do that in your calculator. Let's see, I'd go down here to negative 2. So there's my negative button. But then I want to do minus 1. Here's your minus button. So minus 1, enter. So that gives me negative 3 is what I have over here now. Now, I have an 8 hooked on. X is still not alone, and it wants to be. If you have a number hooked on, this means 8 times x. So to get rid of it, remember, you do the opposite to knock the stuff out. So I want to knock out 8 times. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So let's see. Those 8's cancel. My x is alone. Drop down my equals. Now, I need to make sure that that is in lowest form. Negative 3 over 8. Does that reduce? That does not reduce. That is in its lowest form as it can be. So negative 3/8. Now, I'm about to show you how to make your calculator do the hard work here. Let's start from the beginning. And we're going to use that LCD method a lot later on. I'm going to rework this problem. Let's see. X plus 1/8 equals negative 1/4. So, I don't want to go through all that other stuff. Let's think about this. X wants to be alone, right? This is the same exact problem. So really, all that needs to happen is plus 1/8 needs to go away. How do you make plus 1/8 go away? Minus 1/8. If I do it here, I have to do it here. Oops. Minus 1/8. So the plus 1/8 minus 1/8 cancels. That's the easy part. They just knock each other out. X equals. Here's where we run into trouble, right? Nobody likes to add and subtract fractions, especially when they have unlike denominators. Look what your calculator will do. This is what you're gonna use your calculator to do this probably more than anything else in this class. So what do I want to know? I want to know what -1/4 minus 1/8 is. So if you have this calculator, so just type exactly that in. Hit your negative button. I'm going to move this out just a second. So negative. So I need to type in 1/4. The way that you type that in is just do 1. The way you make the divided or the over symbol is the just divided by 1/4. So -1/4. Now what do I need to know? Minus 1/8, which is 1. Again, this button right here to make the over 8. Now, here's what you'll do. You'll hit the enter, and it gives you a decimal. Math Lab is not going to let you put in a decimal. So here's how you show, this is how you turn your decimals into fractions. You hit this math button, and the very first thing under there, that says, that's like it's asking you, do you want to turn your, let's see how the number 1 is highlighted, and it's got that little arrow fraction, F-R-A-C. That's saying, do you want to turn your answer into a fraction? Well, that's exactly what I want to do. So I'll hit enter. And it asks me again, do you want to turn your last answer into a fraction? Yes, I do. So hit enter again. Look what it gives you, -3/8. So do the fraction work in your calculator, then hit the math button, and then hit enter twice. So math, enter, enter is going to be your friend. So I just did that in the calculator, and it showed me -3/8, which is exactly what I got when I did it the other way. Okay? All right, number 6, and there's just 7, and then I'll ask if there's any questions. (1/4) W minus 2 equals 5/4 W. Okay, couple of new things on this problem. First new thing is I have W's on both sides of my equation. W wants to be alone, right? The letter always wants to be alone, which means I can't have it on both sides. I can only have it on one side so that I can make it, everything else get away from it. So let's see what I like to do so that I can keep my W's positive is I compare the two numbers that are hooked onto the W and I knock out the small one. So let's see, this 1/4 W, I'm going to subtract it off of this side. Well, if I subtract 1/4 W over here, I've got to do the same thing over here. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. So I'm going to put it underneath the W over here. So minus 1/4 W over here also. So let's see. That just cancels that. All I have, now remember that negative is there. You bring down that -2 is what's left over here. Equals, I've got 5/4 minus 1/4. You can do that in your calculator, right? Now you can do, now that you know how to add and subtract fractions in your calculator, just do it in your calculator, which would be 5/4, what is it? Minus 1/4. And hit enter. Look what that gives you. It gives you 1. So 5/4 minus 1/4 gives you 1 W. Well, what is 1 W? Isn't that if you just have 1 W, that's just the same exact thing as saying W. 1 W is W. So I'm just left with W equals -2, so am I finished? Is W alone? Yeah, W is completely alone, which means -2 is your answer. Okay? All right, last one. This is almost the same exact problem as number 6. So let's see again. I've got W's on both sides, which means I'm going to get rid of the small one. And I like to get rid of the small one just because it makes my W's stay positive. So let's see. If I'm going to get rid of this 1/2 W, I need to cancel it out by subtracting it. If I subtract it here, I've got to subtract it here. That cancels. All that's left over here is the 3 equals, over here, I've got 3/2 minus 1/2. So again, you can do that in your calculator. Again, it's going to tell you 1 W. And what is 1 W? It is just W equals 3. Okay, so that is the end of the lesson. So again, before Sunday at midnight, what you need to do now that you have seen the lesson, now you'll go down to My Math Lab student links. Scroll down to My Math Lab, Math All Assignments. Go to 2.1, which is what we just did. Now, each one of these problems is going to mirror, right? We just did 7 problems. So let's look at number 7. Every single one, you're going to have an example of how to work it because I just showed you how to work it. Look at what number 7 is. 1/2 W minus 5 equals 3/2 W. It's almost exactly like the number 7 that I just worked. So that's how this is going to work. I'll go through all the different kinds of problems that you're going to do. Then you'll go and do that assignment in your My Math Lab student links. So does anybody in here have any questions? You're good? Anybody online have any questions about where to go to do your work or anything like that? If you do, just go over and unmute yourself. You should have a little microphone with an X through it that says you're muted. Okay, so if nobody has any questions, I'm going to say stay safe. Pulaski Tech is closing early today, so we're all about to leave. Let me look at. Oh, wait. Ashley King says, wait. I'm waiting. You can also do exactly what Ashley just did. If you scroll your little cursor down to the bottom, you'll see a little chat button that you can ask questions like that during my lesson or anything. If it's not your day to come to class, or if you just want to do this every time. You don't ever have to come to class. You can always just Zoom it or just watch the recorded lesson later, however y'all want to do it. All right, I'm going to stop recording.